Hello, friends, and welcome back to my hobby home. My name is Cathy. Thank you for joining me today. It's always so good to have you here with me. Today, I am working on the block of the month that came in the Quilted Cow Advent box or Christmas box, whatever we're going to call it. We are working on month 5, the May block. These blocks don't have a name, but this is what the block should look like once it's done. Now, this little calendar also came with this kitty corner ruler. I do have a link for this down in the description. The calendar is exclusive to Quilted Cow. I don't know that you can still get it, but you can always go check out their site to see if they have it. So what we had to do was cut 2 A's from our dark blue, 4 B's from our dark blue, 2 A's from our white, and 4 B's from our white. And then this is sky. We had to have 4 sky. And then we had to have 4 of our blue. Now, friends, in the instructions, it tells you to only cut 1 of the blue by width of fabric, and then you're to cut it down into 4 strips. You're going to have to cut 2 because the width of fabric is not enough to have 4 of the size that's in the pattern. Now, if there is a correction, I don't know. I never go look for corrections because I feel like the pattern should be correct, should be tested before they print all these patterns and release it. That's just my take. You need a pattern tester. So let's get started here. We are taking, I am going to have to get me that Lori Holt book stand so I can stand my book up. But we are going to start here with the, it says Fabric F Unit B. This is our Unit B. And Fabric F is our dark blue. And to Fabric G Unit A. This is our G Unit A. So, or the kite. Now, I have to look to make sure I'm doing this correctly every time because I have sewn the wrong one on here. Now, luckily, I'm just using white. I'm not using a different color, so it doesn't make it difficult for me to do that. And we are sewing everything at 1/4 of an inch. And friends, I know I'm probably not going to have a lot of sewing this week because I have gotten a lot of goodies. And you will be seeing another one of those goodies tomorrow. My idea is to do my spooled block, and I had a fabric change. I was going to use a small fat quarter bundle that I had here, and I have decided against it because if you look at the fabric requirements for the spooled, they're almost all red, and the fabric that I have doesn't have all red. I want to make mine a lot of different colors, but I didn't have enough fat quarters in the bundle that I had to do it. So I need to make sure I'm doing this right. So the fabric, and then I'm going to press it. But I think I'm making 2 of these. Yes. Okay. Because the reason I'm saying I think I'm making 2 of these, I want to get both of them done instead of doing them one at a time. And friend, we have had some exciting something happen in our area today. I mean, let's say that tornado warnings and watches are not exciting, but we have fared decently so far. It is Wednesday evening, and so far the first storm that rolled through rolled just south of where I work and north of my daughter's house. So we did not have anything from that storm. My husband, he was like, I don't even think it's going to rain at the house. But it sure rained where I work. But the worst part of it was south of where I work. Okay, so I'm going to take these two off and press them so I can put the other side on it. So now what I'm doing is I am going to be putting the other blue fabric. Now let's see if it's going to let me do that. Because if I'm not mistaken, these have to be opposites. It ain't going to work. That ain't going to be opposite. I do this every time, friends. I do not know why this does not work for me. Because I cut it exactly how it showed to cut it. And I always have to recut it because I need them to go the other. Because all of mine, when you lay it on the fabric like this, it needs to be laying this direction. But it's not going to. So, one moment. Let me cut two more of these out. I think I have to do that every time. And it gets frustrating. Okay, friends, I have that fixed. That is all my bad. Because in the instructions, it does say one must be facing up and one must be facing down. I don't pay attention. That is a prime example of me not paying attention. So what I want to do is line this up. I'm probably going to need to pin this from the other side because I'm probably going to sew this on the other side. Just line everything up here. This way I can start at the top and not at the other end, because the top side is where, I don't know, this may not be the top of the square, but it's just easier because this one here lines up and makes that square a lot easier. But friends, I was telling y'all about how you may not see a lot of sewing this week, but just tune into the updates because there is a lot of sewing going on this week. I'm just not bringing you guys along for it all. Because if you've seen it once, well, I don't know, you might have seen it more than once. Like the morning flower patch. I've done some of that off camera because y'all have seen that. Y'all have seen that a lot. So I thought maybe you wanted to see something a little different. So that's the route I'm going, is a little different. But I'm still working on those items too. I'm working those and either listening to lives on the tube, or I have something, a podcast or something playing. But I have gotten to where I'm not recording everything I'm doing because, you know, I know a lot of you probably don't want to see it after that first time anyway. But we're just in the sewing room sewing a lot of times. And I've been doing that a lot lately, catching up on my videos that I'm missing and sewing. Okay, friends, now we're going to do the same thing with our dark blue ones. I probably could have done them the same time, and this isn't going to matter. It's the same either way. I probably could have done that at the same time, but I just didn't. But I will trim them down at the same time. I like getting this on under that needle and then lining up my fabric here, friends. But I was telling you about, I've had a color change also on the spooled. I am doing the spooled. I don't know really if I want to do the spooled, but I'm going to do it because that was just the cutest block. But I went and picked out my fabric today from Miss Ava. I did it on my lunch break, so I just told her, I was like, I'll come grab it tomorrow. And she's got one of my quilts done, and I think she bound it too. But I got a message from her right before, a little earlier than before I got off work, to let me know that she had everything done for me. And I know it took her a while to get these done, but I had told her, she told me when I carried them in, well, the first one I carried in, she was like, she had a bunch. I'm going to say like 26 or something like that she had to get done like pronto, like had to be done quick. I think it was a class that they had done. I'm not real sure, but she had to get all of those quilted. And I always tell her, it's no rush. If she's got a quilt of mine for 2 months, that is not a big deal for me. Because I know she'll get it done when she's able to get it done. And I don't want to rush her because I wouldn't want somebody rushing her while she's trying to quilt my quilt. Because when you get in a rush, you start missing things. And things mess up. Well, we don't want things to mess up on a quilt when it's being quilted. And her and Miss Dee Dee both, Miss Dee Dee always did a fabulous job, and Miss Ava does a great job too. But I'm really excited. I went and picked out some different fabrics for it. I just looked at the fabric requirements on the Fat Quarter Shop, and it showed 18 fat quarters is what they're using. Well, and the quilt ends up being like 54.5 by 54.5. Well, that's just not big enough for me. I want a bigger one than that. So I'm adding borders on it. Which now that I think about it, spooled may end up being more like a wall hanger. I went on and picked out 2 fabrics to have a double border, 3 inches on both sides, 3-inch border on both sides. And I didn't tell her 3 inches final. So she may cut and it only be 2.5 inches, which is fine. If that's the case, it's fine. Because that would still make the quilt 5 inches bigger than the 54.5 inch. Okay, so now what I have to do, that I have both of these sewn, I need to come in and trim them down to the size that they need to be. So I'll be right back once I finish trimming. Alrighty, friends. I now have all of my squares trimmed down where they need to be. The good thing about this pattern is it does have you making your squares a little bit too big, so you can trim down and make them the exact size you need them to be. So the first thing we're going to do, it says put them together in rows. So I am paying attention to that center piece and how it goes. So I am going to pin in a seam right here. Now this is my top 2 to make that row. So what we're doing is making the center block. Now once we have the center block made, we will do some framing of the center block. So on the bottom, we're going to make sure we have that seam. It don't really nest, but we're going to make it like it's nested. I should have pressed everything towards the blue, but I did not. I'm pinning my end since I need to my ends together, just so I know they stay even. Because it looks like I may be off a little bit, but that is okay. That's why I pinned that end together. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is press these two, and then we'll assemble these two into the bigger square. Had to find a different pin, friends. That one there has been hit by the needle a couple times, and it had a little bend in it. And once again, I'm going to pin my ends. I'm noticing that they do better if I pin them. They come out even. And I've had problems with that, friends. I've had a lot of problems with my ends coming out even. And it's a me problem. I probably should have been pinning them all along. Because I think with the dual control foot, that it's pulling that bottom fabric and not the top fabric. Because sometimes they get off right there at the very beginning. Double checking to make sure they're lined up real good. Okay, so now we have our center of our block done. I'm going to press it, and then we're going to get to the next steps. Okay, friends, this is the center of our block. So now I've got to see how we've got to do these. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is sew one of our blues to each side of the block. So that means I'm going to pin at the beginning, center, and end, just so we know everything lines up real good. Friends, I was just sitting here thinking, when this gets done, this is going to be a completely random quilt as well, fabric-wise. You know, we can't see it's halfway coming off a hanger over here, friends. That's what's happening with the flowering. I got a hold of it and pulled it off a hanger. Half of the hanger. It's on half of the hanger, not the whole hanger. But the flowering, it's a completely different fabric line than what was done, which that is the idea. Do it in whatever you feel like you can do, or whatever you want yours done in. Okay, so now I need to put another strip on the other side, and what I'll do then is press it. Well, I'm not going to press it until I get the other pieces done, but I will show you. What we'll do is we have some little squares to put on the ends of two of these strips, and we will just put those on the top and bottom. I feel like I'm running out of time, which I am. We're already a little over 40 minutes in. I need to learn how to streamline this better. Get all of it done, and learn how to cut better too, or read instructions. And I know, because I looked at one section that I thought was where it would make a difference, and then I was like, oh, it don't matter here. So I didn't pay any attention the further along I went. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is take the last 2 strips and I'm going to put a sky on each end of it. I'm not going to pin this. Hopefully it will come out right, because pinning does take a little time here. And we're trying to shave off some minutes, right? I think it takes about an hour to do each block, but that's me. That's only because I have to go back and cut again because I miscut. I tried to do it right the first time, but that's not always the case, and it hadn't been a single time that I've made one of these. Okay, so what we're going to do is trim these apart. That has to be pressed. These will have to be pressed as well after I get the last squares on it. And I hope everyone is safe. I saw where it looked like Alabama and Georgia were getting the bad brunt of this storm that come through tonight. It is Wednesday. Once again, it is Wednesday evening. But I had Ryan Hall, y'all, on watching him with the storm chasers, and they had a tornado in South Louisiana as well, and that's where my niece and her family lives, close to Alexandria area, so I'm worried about them, but I think they did okay. Okay, I'm going to go on and press real quick so we can put the top and bottom on. Okay, friends, we are sprinting here at the end. I am nesting and pinning. I'm going to go on and pin these ends to make sure they're even and stay even. But I really love how these blocks have turned out. This is called Diamond Ice, friends. It is a calendar through Quilted Cow. Once again, it was in their Christmas box. So if you're interested, go check them out. Make sure to sign up for next year's box. I love this. I love that you get the whole thing at one time. And I could have chosen to do it all at once, or I could choose to do it once a month, which is what I did. I chose to do it once a month. Because I like to add a little extra something every month. You know, just something a little different in there to sew. Kind of breaks it up. And this upcoming Saturday is Jolly Bar Day. I have my Jolly Bar. I have my fabrics. I have not cut them yet. So our Saturday sew along is just going to be postponed until Sunday. So it'll be our Sunday sew along. So that means you guys will have a video every day. I think every day. You got one Monday. You got one Tuesday. You got one Wednesday. This one is for Thursday. And you'll have one Friday and Saturday and Sunday. So I said I was going to slow it down and take a break, but it looks like I'm back to my old ways, ain't I, friends? I have just found, though, if I don't do a video every day, I kind of get slacking in my sewing room and my projects start getting behind. So I have to sew. And if I record, I'm getting things done that I need to get done. So here we are fixing to sew the bottom on. And friends, these are some fairly large blocks. which is really nice. I mean, it's going to make a pretty nice size quilt. So it's going to be a 12 block quilt. But like I said, these blocks are pretty good sized. And friends, we are now done. Let me show you what we've got. This is our May diamond ice block. Beautiful. I'm so happy to have it done. I almost completely forgot I had it done. I finally looked at my calendar and I was like, oh, I gotta get my diamond ice done. So friends, thank you for joining me today. I'm so happy to have you with me today. I hope you got a little sewing in. Please give me a thumbs up before you head out. Make sure to subscribe, click that notification bell so you don't miss a single thing. Feel free to leave a comment and tell me what you think. I do try to respond to each and every comment personally, and as always, until I see you again, I hope you have a very blessed day. Bye, friends.